Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. This is TheGameconomist. Actually, it's not a video, it's a live stream. It is April 24th. We're about to begin the Spring Festival. It begins tomorrow, doesn't it? It's either tomorrow or 2 days from now. I always get confused because it's different for people who are living in America versus people who are living on the other side of the world. I think it starts a day earlier for them because the time zones are different. So I think the Spring Festival starts tomorrow for everyone. But we're still fighting Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth. Specifically, I want to make sure to get another round against her using the Kiar Ice Glaive, comparing it to the Devil Joe Insect Glaive, because I'm very close to the end of my top 5 Insect Glaive video. I'm almost done editing it, and it feels like the Devil Joe Insect Glaive should be doing more damage to Kulve Taroth in stage 4 of the fight. However, last time I tested it, the Kiar Ice was doing more damage. So I want to test that again just to be sure before I call it the best counter weapon for Kulve Taroth in Stage 4. How's it going, everyone? I see Ian, Elias, VCA Jim, Alistair, and Jason Dragoon. Thank you for joining my stream. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be beating up on Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth once again. Let's go ahead and get started. Well, I have some music for you guys. Turn that on in a second here. A new microphone setup too, so I don't know if I come in clearer or not. I've been getting better at the microphone setup. Okay, actually, let's bring this all the way up. We'll adjust the volume based on how loud it is. So, for those of you who are just joining the stream and you've never watched me fight Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth, this is the track farming method where at Pursuit 1, all you do is gather tracks, and then after one round of that, you'll attack her. So I have my track gathering build. This build allows me to get extra things if I pick them up. Like if I pick up honey, I get bonus honey. And then, of course, we're going to eat for stamina here. All I need is stamina. By the way, the music you're listening to is by C418. I can turn it up or down for you. I don't want it to be too loud, though. And is from his album 1 from 2012. This is the guy who made the Minecraft music. I don't know if I'll get demonetized for playing it. I don't know exactly how it works. We'll have to see. How's it going, everyone? Luwap, James Dice, Yash Jalim, a lot of people I recognize. Angel, John Christopher Gante, Music is Expression. No, it's not. Ian Yazdi, Silent J, and VCA Jim again. Music is Expression. Is it, though? Nowadays, it feels like music is not that expressive. It feels like music is more about getting a good beat so you can go to the club or something like that. There's a lot of dance music today. A lot of music's not quite as expressive as I feel like it used to be. Especially music from the 80s, I think, was really expressive. Illuma now says, "Are you not playing LS anymore?" You mean Longsword? No, I'm still playing Longsword. We're on the PC, so I can play Longsword if I feel like it. On the Xbox, I'm not playing Longsword, and that's because on the Xbox, we're trying to get the Charge Blade and the Longsword to swap places. We're trying to make the Charge Blade the most popular weapon on the Xbox. So if you're on the Xbox, stop playing Longsword for a little while longer, it's like another month, and start playing with Charge Blade every day. How's it going, Paperman? He says, "I'm a newbie. Greetings. It's nice to meet you. You should definitely, if you haven't, take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I'm about to break 56,000 subscribers. I do a lot of informative videos. I do a daily... Oh, what just happened? My character let go of that. I do daily streams, and you will learn how to max your character out better and how to play with the weapons better if you keep an eye on my work. Actually, I'm making, as I said earlier, a top 5 Insect Glaive video. Should be out later today. It'll definitely be out later today. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Something would have to really interrupt me for it to not come out. Japanese songs are quite emotional and expressive. That's true. That's true. Japanese music is still pretty expressive. I think I'm talking about more about like American hip-hop and rap. I feel like hip-hop and rap, even in the 80s, was a lot more expressive and maybe even more like light-hearted, if you want to say that. And now the rap music today is so narcissistic and kind of repetitive. There's kind of a lack of innovation in my opinion. They've got a lot of auto-tune and stuff like that, and to me that's not really impressive. And I'm not saying this because I was like born in the 80s or anything like that. I listen to a lot of music, including a lot of old music, and so I'll hear music from the 80s and go, wow, that actually sounds pretty good. Like, for example, the Beatles. The Beatles never seemed to go out of style for some reason. They just had lighthearted music that sounded good. It was very expressive. And they experimented with a lot of different sounds, a lot of different instruments. It doesn't really feel like we do that anymore. It feels like music is made on an electronic keyboard, probably by a computer, and a corporation says, how sexy are you? If you're real sexy, then we'll have someone write music for you, and we need you to be on the front of the cover. And that feels like what music today is. Not as much soul, more of a product, and mostly that product is being played at a club. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't hear as much. There's some modern musicians I do enjoy, though. There are some. For example, have you guys ever heard of Sun Kill Moon? Have you guys ever heard of Sun Kill Moon? His stuff is so good. I would play it for you, but I'm certain I would be copyrighted if I did play it. With C418, I think he doesn't always copyright his music for some reason, which actually I appreciate that he does that, and I think that when artists do that, they become better known faster because guys like me are willing to play his music and talk about him. What about X? I have heard X. I do like X. They have a very smooth style. Very smooth, catchy style. I would say X is just high quality music, but it doesn't really break that far away from a lot of the hip hop and rap we have today. It is better though. It is higher quality. And I've also heard some arguments that when you go backwards and you listen to music from the 80s, you do end up being a bit biased because one of the things that occurs is you really only hear the good music from the 80s being played anymore. You don't hear all the music from the 80s, but I think there is something to be said about how our musicians have become hypersexualized, and the music ends up being more about who they are rather than how the music actually sounds. I think we have a serious problem with that with modern music. I don't know, maybe life's too comfortable and easy these days. I feel like people make good art when they've had traumatic experiences in life, or they've seen things that inspire a great deal of awe, and they've taken large risks in life. And when people have very safe, very comfortable lives, I don't think they make as good of art, and I think that's just kind of the reality. Art, a lot of expression means you had to have had a lot of experiences that allow you to express things, and I'm not sure that people today really experience that much. We don't experience dangerous things anymore, and we don't want to. People don't want to experience dangerous things. You want to be safe. Elias says, your Kulve Taroth farm guide really had impact on the PlayStation 4 people. Just create group chats and invite people from the community to do it. So thanks. Oh, you're welcome, Elias. I'm glad to hear that it's helping. I think it saves a crazy amount of time when you get Kulve Taroth done in like 18 minutes, basically. 18-minute reward cycle as opposed to like, I don't know what it was before. It was like 35 minutes, maybe even 40 sometimes. Just depended. Like, usually would be done in 3 runs in the past, and if each run was on average about 15 minutes, that would be just about 45 minutes. Alistair says, yes, Deep Vera hunting horn is good, but also try the Lunastra horns too. That's right, because the Blaze hunting horn is very good. I like the Blaze hunting horn a lot, and it comes with guts, which means if you get killed, if you take a big damaging blow, you might live, because the gut skill is actually useful for endgame fights, and really the only buff that is super important for like 90% of the fights you're in. Really the only buff you should care about is the attack up extra large buff. That's been my experience with the hunting horn. Defense up is okay. All wind pressure negated is useful against Arch-Tempered Kushala Daora. There's Heat Guard. It's called Environmental Damage Negate. That's on the Bone Horn. Yeah, there's a few niche horns that will fulfill special roles against certain matchups, but for the most part, you just need attack up extra large. Luap is talking about money. He says, nowadays, all you need is money, girls, and drugs. Then you're an instant rapper. Precisely. So I think that the rappers try to develop a kind of an identity about being a rapper. And that identity, I don't know, I suppose people find it really cool if you're like having sex with a whole bunch of women probably, and the women are kind of like hoes or whatever. And, oh, god damn it. I guess I already picked up that scattered gold chip. And the drugs as well, I don't quite understand that, because we know drugs kind of destroy your life. And is this, what would be the word? It's almost like this worship of doing things in life that actually usually make you unhappy. Actually, a lot of famous jazz artists in the what would it be, like the 60s and 50s, they got addicted to heroin, and heroin ended up pretty much destroying them as artists. It didn't make them better. So there's this what would be the word? There's this belief that's not accurate, stereotypical belief that people who do drugs write better music. And it's actually, from studies, it's actually the other way around. Usually musical artists end up getting into drugs, and when they do, it actually usually ruins their career. So this a glorification of drugs, that's the word I'm looking for, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You should be, there should be a glorification. In this art, you can do anything you want, really, when it comes to art, but I don't always understand the logic behind it, because everyone wants a certain kind of hedonism in their life. Like, I enjoy cookies a lot, and that's a problem for me, because cookies will give you, like heart disease or something like that, right? So we all enjoy a certain amount of hedonism, but what are we really glorifying? Are we glorifying drugs because a part of us wants to be unhappy inside, like destructive? Or do you really believe that drugs make people happy? Or is it kind of like this, I don't give a F about anything, I'm too cool to care about things? But you realize, life doesn't go that well when you don't care about things, right? You usually have bad relationships, unhappy, broken families. And so I don't quite understand how, because hip-hop in the 80s, I feel like hip-hop in the 80s was not so much about all of that. I don't think that there was quite as much. I've heard the term used, hypermasculinity. I've also heard the term like toxic masculinity as well from the feminists, although they tend to use it for traditional good things like men actually wanting to get with women, which is a good thing. But for rap music, I don't understand the sort of, oh yeah, I fight the cops and I do the drugs and I'm really bad. I've never understood that. I don't relate to it. How's it going, Yami? What is this conversation? We're talking a little bit about modern music. How do you like modern music, Yami? Do you think that is good? Do you think that is bad? Do you think it's become too commercialized? I think music today is too commercialized. We don't care as much about indie artists, and the artists today, they're not as expressive as the artists in the past. I really don't think they are. All right, I need to put a build together. So, we'll be using Kiar Ice and Kiar Thunder starting out. Show me Kiar Ice and Kiar Thunder. Here it is. You can see I already have it built because I was doing experiments with it. Everybody wants good music. Everybody wants good music. But I feel like the industry has become more of an industry of selling you an identity. They want to sell you an identity, and they care less about the quality of the music itself. And I'm concerned about that. I think everyone is. Well, it's not a big concern. It's more like just a regular criticism. I feel like you see it a little bit in the movies as well. Movies, I don't feel like movies take as large of risks as they did in the past. Now a movie has to make multi-millions of dollars back, and you better like that movie or they're going to lose a F ton of money. So corporations are making safe decisions. They're not experimenting. They're not interested in experimenting. They don't make experimentations on people either. They don't want to take risks on, maybe actresses or actors that might not be able to sell to a global market, for example. So, yeah, the art industry has changed a lot. Boo Pack says it's completely bad. Yami says some songs are good, but others are cringy. Yash Jalim says Raiden and Sub-Zero build. Raiden and Sub-Zero. Did you guys hear Mortal Kombat got a 3 from the users on Metacritic? Yeah, and you don't see that when you Google for the results of the ratings for Mortal Kombat. Google will tell you, oh yeah, it got like a 9. But if you actually see what the people are giving it, they're giving it like a 1, a 0, a 3, and that's because Mortal Kombat has microtransactions in it now, and it has always online on it now. And of course, I complained yesterday about it having SJW stuff, which some people are complaining about that as well. So, it's sad. All right, let's get her horns broken. There we go. Dogone says the importance of people having different tastes is lost nowadays. They just go with the crowd. Oh, everyone likes this? I like it too then. It's mostly like that. You could be right about that. Yeah, there definitely could be a hint of that. Humans are kind of hardwired to be social and to mimic each other, you know? We all want to be like each other. But I think a big part of it is probably because music has become a multi-dollar corporate interest. I think that's probably a bigger indicator of what's happened to music. Nowadays, a record label will say, well, I'm not going to... Oh no, is anyone going to knock this under here? They'll say, we don't want to risk signing you unless you're going to make millions and millions of dollars for us. And that means you better look really sexy, you know what I mean? And the quality of your music's not as important. What matters is if we can sell you. Alright, her giant horns are chipped. That's good. It means that the cannons aren't really going to help quite as much anymore. Well, we'll push it one more time. Yeah, I think the corporations are saying, you better turn us millions of dollars. And that means you've got to look like a model. And the quality of your music doesn't matter as much because we'll hire somebody to write the music. Somebody else will write the music. You'll just be the way that we sell the music. And they're trying to sell to you either a sex symbol or an identity, which I think is the other one that happens a great deal. Alright, here we go with the cannonballs. Ooh, you can actually feel the cannonballs land because your controller will vibrate when they're landing as opposed to when they're missing. So we just did a great deal of damage there. Let's get our mega barrel bombs ready. Ghost says even YouTube trending is pretty generic most of the time. That's right. So back when YouTube came out, I actually remember when YouTube came out and people started talking about it. YouTube was a very different thing. It was a place for people to share their quirky videos with each other. Now YouTube is a place for corporations to sell you things, and including videos. Corporations create these videos now. Like I would be a true small, actual small content creator that YouTube was originally designed for. And to a degree, YouTube has had a great amount of success for people like me because look, here I am making a video for you guys, making a live stream for you guys. But when you go to the trending page, it is dominated by like basically Hollywood, and huge corporations and video creators that have a great deal of resources and whole teams that I don't have. Maximum C Nugget asks what pursuit level this is. This is pursuit level 4. Alistair says Monster Hunter World on Xbox has been dead all week. That's because all we have is boring Magnaros. How's it going, Birkin Gulchin? Thanks for joining the stream. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Let me focus on the game here. So over here, I like to get one aerial attack on Kulve. Huh, I guess the red and the white extracts are going to be her head and her arms. The YouTube algorithm? I remember that kid talking about the YouTube algorithm on PewDiePie's channel. He was a funny kid. Didn't I think PewDiePie let him do a meme review later. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, so the commercialization of movies, and not just movies, but music and art in general, is kind of a sad thing. It's kind of a loss for everyone, in my opinion. But I suppose that's what would happen. It just is kind of sad because a lot of your culture comes from your music and your visual art and your movies, and you want your art to really represent something good about your culture, and I feel like we don't have that as much in the future. It's almost like I don't know what it is, self-destructiveness going on in our art. Alright, so I'm not really concerned about how much damage the Kiara Spark does. I already know it does more than the Devil Joe, and it's not close. A spark does a lot more damage. It's actually going to be... Oops. We actually want to know how much the Kiara Glaive Ice does. That's better than the... Oh, I lost my buffs. 1984. I think he's referencing George Orwell. Gameconomist, what would you say is the most difficult weapon to use in an Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth run? Well, playing solo, if you're playing solo, the Hunting Horn's actually kind of difficult. If you're playing in a group, Hunting Horn's fine because you give everyone attack up extra large, and that's really a massive buff to anyone using a bowgun. After that, maybe Sword and Shield? It's hard to say. I think that Sword and Shield could use a buff. I've been playing all the weapons a lot lately, and I have more perspective now than I've ever had. And I do feel like Sword and Shield could use some help for being more of an offensive weapon. Not that it's like unplayable or anything, I just feel like compared to the other weapons, a lot of the other weapons have something nicer going for them than the Sword and Shield has. And I don't want Sword and Shield to simply have an easy win button. I just think Sword and Shield, similar to the dual blades, suffers from a lack of maybe vertical and horizontal range, but the dual blades actually have a lot of moves that compensate for this, and the Sword and Shield doesn't really have as much. You can guard, that's nice, and you can eat while your weapon is pulled out, but neither of those things are really that important for damage, and I'm guessing that Monster Hunter decided, well, we shouldn't give the Sword and Shield too much damage because it has these other utilities. Alright. Sword and Shield seems to be mainly for mounting in Area 4. Yeah, you know, but the truth is any weapon can mount in Stage 4. Let's grab this Crystal Burst. Oh. I think I rolled into that. Switch Axe needs a buff too. I disagree with that, Kyle. I think Switch Axe is actually doing a really good amount of damage. I've been getting used to the Switch Axe recently, and as long as you can keep the monster in place, you can rack up some very heavy damage with the Switch Axe. What's impressive about the Switch Axe is how much damage it does when it combos in place. Hey, thank you, Henry. Your videos always give me stuff to do on Monster Hunter World. Love all your builds. Best Monster Hunter World channel. Great sword or hammer. Okay, we'll do a great sword or hammer today, for sure. But first, let me finish testing. Let's see, here it is, Kiara Glaive Ice. Let me take a look at the build too. Okay, so here's the build. It includes health boost, and it does not have peak performance on it. No peak performance. And we won't use Mega Demon Drug. I think, did we eat an attack up large? I think we ate an attack up large at the beginning of the match. So we have an attack up large, and that means when I test the Devil Joe Insect Glaive, I've got to have that as well. Here's a cool drink. I can eat this real fast. Sword and Shield are good for Behemoth because it can weakness exploit both in forelegs and back legs. Oh, because you can move between blunt and sharp, I believe he's saying. Alright, we need that red buff. That's the white buff. Come on, Kulve. Oh, she actually hit me with that. I thought I was outside of it. Okay. She's gonna go to sleep any second, I assume. I see two light bowguns. Alright, so I gotta decide what move I'm going to test. The running attack would be good. I think the running attack has some motion value to it. So this is the running attack. It did 119. Remember that number. 119. Let's test it again. Probably 100. Yeah, 119 again. So it's probably in the range of 119, 117, or 119, 121. Let's go ahead and get our barrel bombs out. And we'll use that as our standard for the Devil Joe Insect Glaive as well. Because the jump attack's kind of a heavier hit. See that? It's kind of a heavier hit. So I think that's a good way to test. Everyone has a light weapons. I guess let's get going. I can tell you one thing that this is going to be better at than the Devil Joe Insect Glaive, and that's aerials. This is definitely going to be better for aerials. I got shot out of the air. Oh no. I just wasn't expecting that, so I've never actually been shot out of the air by Kulve Taroth's beam. I guess we'll go ahead and eat a... We'll have to eat a max potion and join back up. Oh my god. I got shot right out of the air there. That means that when we go back and we continue to do damage with our other moveset, because we might want to know how much the light attacks are doing as well, we're going to have to assume that we're doing that damage without the attack up large buff from the canteen, unfortunately. Actually, I might have been able to buy it. I'm looking at my timer and it looks like I was past 10 minutes, so that's unfortunately. I should have just bought it again. It shouldn't make too large of a difference though, so we'll still be able to make some inferences from how well the Devil Joe Insect Glaive performs. I got shot out of the air. Guess we can grab the scattered gold chip for no reason. Have they broken the tail? I haven't paid attention. I haven't paid attention to if they've broken it. Oh, and her horns are broken, so I don't get to test anything else. That's how it goes with this session. People are real good in this session. Good job, everyone. So we tested one move. It was the jump attack. And what's important here is when it comes to elemental damage, technically the ice insect glaive would have gotten more damage if I'd been using the light attacks. And the number we hit was 119, so we're going to save that number. If we have to, we'll test it a second time if we have to. It's actually really important that I test it. I could even disconnect. On the last run that we're going to do, I could disconnect at the end and then have a lot of time to test it, you know what I mean? Because rather than having your teammates break the horns. James Dice says, Switch Axe has too little movement to it, so it can get boring over time. I think that's kind of true for any weapon, though, really, James Dice. Any weapon can get boring over time, and that's why it's time for you to learn a new weapon, honestly. Each weapon does something unique. The Switch Axe, I think, does a terrific combo damage in place, and then if you time it real well, you can latch at a meaningful time. I like that. Maximum McNugget says, did you get the tail break? I don't actually know if we got the tail break. I guess we'll see at the end. See ya, Ender Matter. How long can Vitality Mantle save you from her Lava Puke attack? Ooh, good question. Amariel says how much damage? Oh, it's not necessarily how much damage overall that I'm looking for. I'm looking for specific damage coming from a single move, because I'm comparing damage between these two weapons. If it turns out that the Kiar Ice does higher damage than the Devil Joe Insect Glaive, then the Kiar Ice deserves to be on my list for my top 5 Insect Glaives. If it can't do more damage than the Devil Joe Insect Glaive to Kiar's horns, then it doesn't deserve to be on the list. It's just like that. Alright, it looks like we did fail to break the tail, is that right? It looks like we're missing a reward. Paralysis Sword, Kiar Strong Arm Spark, look at that. We got that. Sell the rest. Objective question, controller or keyboard? I'm using the controller. Yeah, I think I could use the keyboard, but my setup does the controller much better. Get Forager here. Empty our item loadout. So next we're going to have to test the Devil Joe Insect Glaive. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put together like an optimized damage build for that Insect Glaive just to see how much I can do. Because the thing is, I already did a test and it looks like the Devil Joe Insect Glaive should be doing more damage because of its higher raw. But last time I tested, it looked like the Ice Insect Glaive was doing more damage, so I'm very confused. Cosmic Melon says, there's no fist-based weapon in the game. Is Capcom afraid of money and success? Well, I would argue that the dual blades feel very much like the way a fist weapon would feel. They're very close range. So what they could do instead of adding a fist weapon is just give the dual blades a different moveset that feels more like punching. So I feel like we don't necessarily need a fist weapon. Nabil asks, can you teach me how to make as many barrel bombs as possible in a run? Yeah, so I can do that right now real fast because we're still waiting for one. So here in my item loadout, if you take a look at my item loadout, I have 20 gunpowder, 5 large barrels, and when you combine these together, you make a large barrel bomb. So as you can see, I can craft, because there's a limit on how many large barrels I can bring, I can craft 5 new large barrel bombs because I can bring 5 large barrels. Also, since I can hold 20 gunpowder, the other thing I can do is gather large barrels from the large barrel gathering points on the map. There's a few at the beginning of the fight that you can gather large barrels from, so you can technically craft quite a few mega barrel bombs at the beginning of stage 1. Devil's Blight is used to take large barrel bombs and craft them into mega barrel bombs. So you can see right here, visually I've turned my item pouch into something that makes sense to me. Gunpowder and large barrel go together, Devil's Blight and large barrel bomb go together, and these make the mega barrel bombs. And then basically you can add this crafting to your radial menu. So here's the crafting. See, I craft a larger barrel bomb, and then I craft a mega barrel bomb. So that's what we're doing. That's how we're getting so many of those. And they're very valuable for fighting Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth because she takes extra barrel bomb damage. Let's go ahead and eat for stamina. Alright, let's get started. TGM, do you agree that flashes are OP? They used to be OP. They're not so strong anymore. James Dice says a second proc of sleep on Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth is possible. Here's the problem though. It requires so much that it's probably not worth your time. So maybe if you had like 4 heavy bowguns all using sleep ammo 2, then it wouldn't be so bad, because sleep ammo 2 is very efficient for putting a monster to sleep. But if you're talking about just for putting her to sleep using like sleep ammo 1 or sleep coatings, it's really not that efficient. It takes too much time. And that's the issue. So after 1 proc of sleep, you should move on to doing damage, because you lose out on damage when you're trying to proc the second sleep. Think about it. Instead of shooting sleep ammo, you could just be shooting regular coatings and deal actual damage to her. So that's why usually people will tell you 1 proc of sleep and that's it. It's inefficient to go for the second one. Bitter bug? Oh, I didn't pick it up. Devil's Blight. Please do a new top 5 switch axes. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. But why try to sleep her for the second time when you can just break her horns? Exactly. Ian says, hey, watched you build it guide and was lucky enough to get both the bows you suggested on my first run ever. Oh, nice. That's cool. When you have time, could you test the methods to Fury Kulve Taroth? Your video says 15 breaks. I've heard every part of the mantle has to be broken at least once. Mantle refreshes don't affect counting. So I've heard that what you have to do is in order to get her furied, if you're in pursuit 3 and 4, you need 15 breaks on her mantle. And then to actually get her to shed her mantle, you need to strip her of her whole mantle before she digs. Is it her whole mantle, or is it most of her mantle, except for 1 piece can still be on her? So it's kind of a combination of breaking a lot of parts, but also if you want her to strip from stage 2, or early in stage 3, you need to take off the entire mantle. Do top lances. Ender Matter, I actually have done top lances. Ender Matter says, because I want the best lance that uses guard up. I mean, there is no such thing. You just pick the lance that does the most damage for whichever monster you're fighting. There's no such thing as like the most defensive lance. They're all equally defensive. Radman says, are you planning to stream on Xbox when the next festival comes around? Highly likely, yes. How about the top 5 dual blade builds? Yeah, I could do that as well. It takes time, actually. The top 5 builds, top 5 weapons, those are like, those videos take more time than most videos. Because you don't want to accidentally say something that's not true, which can happen, but you want to try and give people as much true information as possible. So it's hard to do that. That's why those videos are so valuable. Top lance is Taroth Crest Claw overall. Yes, Claw is your best raw option, but the new elemental Kiar lances actually give it a run for its money. So what you really need to do is, when you fight a monster, let's say that monster has a weakness to fire, you need to test the Kiar Fire Lance to see if it's doing more damage than the Taroth Claw, and that's what's going on here. You have an option of going raw damage would be Taroth Crest Claw, or going elemental. And the best way to know which one is strongest is to go out and test it. So when you have somebody else making like a top this lance video and they're like, oh, this is really good, it's going to outdamage the XYZ, you actually have to go test it because every monster has different hit zones. So the hit zone values for a monster might be really favorable toward a particular elemental type, and then on another monster it may claim to have the same elemental weakness, but those elemental weaknesses might actually give you a lower amount of damage. So if you really want to know what the best lance is to use, you actually have to go test your options out against your target. And what really helps as a starting point is to know what is the best raw damage weapon for that weapon class, because then you can compare raw against an elemental option. And for weapons that primarily deal raw damage, it's actually very easy. Oh, by the way, I was told you can drop one boulder on her. Let's drop a boulder. So it says it gives 60 points. Is that 60 more points? I don't understand. We dropped a boulder on her, and the other thing is these Gajalaka nearby have more time to do this. Create the scattered gold chips. So I've been meaning to test that out a bit. The problem is I'm still not going to tell randoms that they can do that because I'm worried those randoms will not really understand and they'll just attack her. It's much easier to teach people one rule, and the rule is don't attack her. It's much easier to teach people that. Hard says he wants to see my build. Here's my gathering build. This is I call it a forager build. Oh, there's a footprint. Come on. Oh, there's some scattered chips over here. Let's go ahead and gather those. It's getting hot where I live. I have the AC off because my AC is so loud I might turn it on. The Blossom event is tonight, correct? I don't think it's tonight. I can look it up. I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure it's not tonight. He says, I remember trying out dropping all the stones, and it doesn't affect the time as long as nobody attacks and breaks her parts. Okay, interesting. I'm new to the game and got a question. I ended the game... Oops, where am I? Here I am. I ended the game and I finished all of the optional quests that I had, but some of them shows blue complete. What does that mean? Does it mean there is a quest I didn't do? I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't understand your question. I don't even think I completed all the optional quests after like 2,500 hours. And Sari asks, did you do Greatsword yet? No, we're still running tests on... Grab this footprint real fast. We're still running tests on the insect glaives. That was what I really set out to do today. I really got to get those tests done. They have to be... So I really want to be sure of what I'm talking about here, which is why I've got to run the test. There's a footprint. And there's another footprint. Nice. Blue means there are more quests. Talk to the people with exclamation marks. Well, there you go. It's bicep, shoulder, and triceps day-to-day game economist. I don't work out. I do go for daily walks, though. I always try to go for a walk. But yeah, I don't work out. I don't have those big muscles. Alright, so we need to put together an optimized build for our insect glaive. Here's Grunge Storm. We're not even going to bring Part Breaker because we're mostly interested in using it in stage 4. I think this looks fine, actually. Yeah, this is fine. So we're going to go with this build. Now, mind you, the Ice Insect Glaive did have health boost on the build, and this does not. Eat meal. We're going to eat the attack up large. Colton says, if the title says fastest farm, why are you using butt sniffing lobbies when P1s are better for farming? Because I don't actually think P1s are better for farming. And yes, I've done P1s before, so you know, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. Alright, we're waiting for these guys to come back. The problem with P1 lobbies is I believe that they look like they're the fastest until you run into the practical execution of them, where the reality is you do fail some of them. And when you do fail some of them, you go from having like a 10-minute run with 5 rewards to a 20-minute run with 5 rewards. That's really bad. Similarly, it's actually kind of hard to get 4 people together who have the skill for a P1 horn break. So you spend time looking for people who are skilled enough. Let's say you get a group of 4 people together. Turns out one of them's not really skilled enough. What do? Do you just kick them out as soon as you find out? At which point you've already lost 10 minutes. Or do you keep playing with him to kind of help him train until he's skilled enough? So there's all kinds of problems with P1 horn breaks. Another one I've mentioned before, you have to have a lot of resources, a lot of Devil's Blight, a lot of gunpowder, and if you were to run out of those, you would struggle to continue to do those P1 horn breaks. So there's just all kinds of problems with realistically executing consistent P1 horn breaks when you could just do this method and have a very consistent horn break every 2 runs. And honestly, it takes about 16 minutes per run. And you get 6 rewards. So it's 16 minutes, 6 rewards, extremely consistent. Or 10 minutes, 5 rewards, not quite as consistent. You run out of resources. You have to find people who are actually skilled enough for this. And if you do happen to fail a few of them, you're tacking on a lot of time. The time adds up really fast if you fail. Oh, we're waiting on one more group. They're going to push it to Pursuit 5. We're going to let them come back. Hood in Clip says, I'm thinking about getting this game. Do you recommend it? Now's a good time to get into the game because there's tons of content to play. And if you get into it now, you'll be ready for when Iceborne comes out. So now is a great time to get into Monster Hunter World. There we go. Look at that. We reached Pursuit 6. Look at that. Wow. Nice job, everyone. Yeah, the whole idea that you have to do P1 horn breaks and that's going to be a better method, I just don't agree with that. Look at us. Group of 16 people, and everyone gets to go from Pursuit 1 to Pursuit 6 in roughly 8 minutes. And then you just have a nice, consistent run where you break the horns. Now, you can make an argument that the other method is faster, but I would say you're not taking into account all of the time you invest trying to get a group together that's skilled enough, trying to get all of the ingredients you need to run a lot of those runs, right? You are going to run out of Devil's Blights. I know because one of our guys did. And you're going to run into an issue where if something goes wrong and you don't manage to break the horns every time, you're really adding a lot of time onto weaker rewards. So it goes 10 minutes, 5 rewards. That jumps up to 20 minutes and 5 rewards if you fail just once. Everyone's ready? I'm ready. I guess I'll ready up. How do you make the book open faster? For me, I hold down left bumper on my controller. That would be like L1. I don't know what the button's going to be on the Xbox. You should not play with bad players for P1. I don't think it's even fair to call people bad for P1. P1's, I don't know how many of you guys have actually done P1. I've done P1. It's a lot more difficult than you probably think it is. I suppose if you did it all day, every day with the same 4 people, then you would probably get proficient enough at it that you could do it consistently. I don't think that's going to be the reality for most players. And here's another problem for you know, the superior P1 method, right? It's a better method, right? Well, what happens when you get 4 people together and one of them has to get off for dinner? You can't just replace him with another player. You have to stop farming. See what I'm saying? So there's all kinds of differences between these two methods. And my argument is that P1 track farming is so consistent and nice. I like it better. Ah, darn, we dropped that a little late on her. Yeah, very consistent this method is. I watch Gameconomist because he reminds me of my boy Yancey who died years ago. We all miss Yancey. Oh, that's kind of morbid. I don't know who Yancey is, but that's sad. We all die someday. Nobody wants to talk about that though, and honestly I don't even want to talk about it. Not when I'm enjoying my games. Go ahead and get the, come on, give me the red buff. Actually, I don't need the red buff. Now remember, I'm not playing with Part Breaker, and that's because this build is really for stage 4. Oh, come on. Oh, nice job, guys. Well, I guess I might as well keep attacking. Giant horns chipped. Oops. That means we're basically done with stage 1, honestly. When her horns are chipped, there's not a lot else left to do. You can keep breaking off her mantle, but you can be pretty sure she's about to turn red. Yeah, she just turned red. Not red, she's ready to move on to stage 2, so that's what I'm saying. Well, I landed one of them. Gameconomist, but for regular Katie, would you do P1s? Because any average Joe can use sticks on regular Katie. Oh yeah, for regular Katie, yes, but she's gone. Let's go ahead and use one of these so I don't accidentally die. That would be bad. Oops, didn't see her roaring. The insect glaive is really an odd weapon. You have to be kind of skilled at shooting, not just at melees. It's actually pretty fun. As you guys know, I use a lot of the bow guns. My original main was the heavy bow. Well, my original main was the lance, and I ended up maining the heavy bow gun. So I appreciate this weapon because you actually do some ranged attacks along with the melee attacks. Not a lot though. Alright, we got the orange buff. Oh, she got me. Don't kill me. We're good. So I notice I'm losing my I'm losing my white sharpness, and that's going to be an issue. Oh, she roared. Let's go ahead and resharpen. Yeah, so the ice insect glaive didn't seem to lose sharpness as quickly. I'm sure the issue here is, look at this outfit. I'm sure the issue here is an over-reliance on maximum might. And so when maximum might is, oh, that's a little loud. When maximum might is not proccing, I'm actually hitting with 30% less affinity. The reality is when you're actually in a match, that occurs. You actually do have a lot of moments where maximum might's not active. You know, people like to think of maximum might as, look, I have 100% affinity, but it's like, well, you mostly have 100% affinity. Under the right conditions, you have 100% affinity. Oop. Let's get this tail broken. Come on. I know it's got to be close to breaking. There it goes. Tail's broken. All we got to do is get her into the next area now. And not die. And not die. Oh! I'm a little scared of dying here. So I don't want to lose that attack up, the attack up buff that I got earlier. Hit her on the horns. Alright, we got the attack up buff. Actually, I think I can test here, can't I? Doesn't really matter. So let's attack here. I want to do a heavy attack and I want to do a light attack on her because actually on the ice insect glaive I didn't actually get to test a heavy attack. Oh, that missed. Shit. Shit. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Somebody interrupted her. That's what happened. Come on, let me get one running attack on you. Oh, 152. That's actually much higher than the ice insect glaive. So we're going to have to retest the ice insect glaive because the next thing we need to test, that running attack is considered a heavy attack, okay? So it has a certain motion value to it. And the motion value is going to be more important for the Devil Joe lance than it's going to be for the other lance, the ice lance. The reason why, because motion value affects raw damage. Motion value doesn't affect elemental damage at all. So we need to test the light attacks out on Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth to have a better understanding of how these two lances differ. So it might be that I shouldn't be recommending the ice lance to anyone. Whoa. Okay, I gotta test light attacks out on her. There we go, I saw an 83. That was an 83 was the first swipe of that light attack. And that light attack is it is a good for elemental damage. It's a very fast attack. Try it again here. Let's go ahead and get these barrel bombs out. I'm sure she'll probably die right here, actually, unfortunately. But we did see one light attack, and it was 83. Oh no, I need the buffs again. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. Alright, so red, white. Alright, that's 78, in fact. That's not her head. That wasn't a crit. So far, 78 and 83 are the two numbers that have shown up. And one of the reasons why it might be lower right now is because we are missing the orange buff. Let's try and get the orange buff. Alright, we got the orange buff. Oh. Good. So here we go. Oh, that's 100. That's 97. Okay, so I saw 197. Why is it so inconsistent? Does she have different hitboxes on different parts of her head? So really, I'm going to have to test the ice insect glaive again. It looks like the Draken insect glaive wins. Okay, and since that happened, I may need to go in and edit some of my commentary on the... See, because I realized what happened. The reason I wanted to test this is when I was looking back on my footage from a previous stream, I realized the build I was using when I tested the two insect glaive was I was using a budget build. I was using a budget build with the Grunge Storm, and the budget build might actually be missing some of the damage that it should have. Colton says, by the way, I was super interested when you talked about possibly getting into Monster Hunter GU. I think you would love the 90 plus monsters added to the game. So fun, great experience. So I have Monster Hunter GU. In case there's nothing to do after Arch-Tempered Nergigante comes out, if there's nothing to do, I'll probably play Monster Hunter GU. Because I could do, I'll probably still do Monster Hunter World streams, but I'll probably stick to like really fun events. And then in the meantime, I'll be playing Monster Hunter GU. So we had 100 damage, huh? Later I can look back on this stream and know which one is doing damage. Elemental damage is not affected by motion value. That's correct. That's why I was saying you've got light attacks and you've got heavy attacks. So the heavy attacks on a weapon tend to have a good motion value. And that means that they're going to be dealing more raw damage. So if you're a weapon with high raw damage, heavy attacks matter to you, whereas light attacks don't really matter to you quite as much, whereas the elemental damage is going to be the same on those attacks, and it's one of the reasons. So you're going to see that attack do less raw damage. The light attack is going to look like it's doing less raw damage. And that's why you'll compare, is a case for you to see what's doing more damage, elemental damage or raw damage. Let's go ahead and empty our rewards real fast. All right. Someday I should do a video on how the math in Monster Hunter World works. I think people would be interested in learning that, unless it already exists. Has somebody already made a video on how to calculate true effective raw and true effective elemental? Somebody probably already has. Let's see. So we're going to do... Right. No. We're going to do Forge again. What are we? We're an hour in? Or hour in. Can't talk. See you later, Elias Moran. Really wish they add at least 20 more monsters, 7 elders, and 13 other monsters to Monster Hunter World. I completely agree. There's a distinct lack of monster variety right now in Monster Hunter World. The other problem is there's a lack of things to do in the end game, so specifically there needs to be more challenging monsters, in my opinion. Okay. Let's go ahead and... What are we doing here? Oh, right. We're just eating for stamina. TDS made a video about the strongest single hit, and then they showed a little of the math in Monster Hunter World as well. Yeah, I might have to make a video on math as well. It's something worth teaching people. It's really not that complicated either. It's not like a really complicated formula. I remember seeing it a while back, and I've used it before, but ever since to actually measure the damage output of a weapon, I don't actually do the calculation because I actually feel like knowing the amount of damage that a weapon does isn't as valuable as knowing the interaction between that weapon and the monster that you're fighting. So when I'm actually looking up the damage of a weapon, what I do is I take it out against the monster, because back when I spent a lot more time on GameFAQs back then. On GameFAQs, somebody was teaching me that formula, and I used it, and I'm like, okay, so now I know what the strongest weapon is, right? And then I found out when I took that weapon out against the monster, a different weapon actually ended up doing more damage, and the issue was with the hit zones. So it's more complicated than just knowing what the final damage output of the weapon does. You actually have to know how it interacts with the monster that you're fighting as well. And that's something that people, I feel like they don't explain it very well. Another thing that people don't always explain is that when you're trying to calculate things like true raw and true elemental damage types, it's often based on something that a speedrunner would be interested in, right? Like only attack skills built into the armor and armor choices. But the issue is, in a lot of fights, you don't actually practice with a speedrunner build. A lot of people bring probably vitality for example. I think vitality is one of the best examples, in fact. And for a lot of weapons, especially the Devil Joe weapons, as soon as you try to add vitality into the build, what ends up happening is they can't reach that 100% affinity that's making Master's Touch so effective. And without that 100% affinity, you end up having to sharpen in the middle of your match. And if you have to sharpen in the middle of the match, you're really losing out on a lot of damage at that point. You're also losing out on the fact that you're not getting 100% of your attacks as crits. Does critical element affect dragon? Yeah, it affects everything. Colton's like, why would it not? Dragon's that special element. How long are you doing YouTube for? I think Pollux is asking how long I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to stream for at least a full another hour. If he means how long have I been on YouTube, I've been on YouTube for like 7 years. Yeah, I'm not sure what he means by that. Gameconomist, I thought you were a casual hunter. I am a casual hunter. Yeah, I learned about the math formula a long time ago. I vaguely remember it. Something about, what was it? It was like raw divided by bloat times something. Yeah, I've done it before once on GameFAQs, and then I was like, like I said, I calculated 2 weapons and found that even though the math formula was telling me which weapon technically did more damage, there ends up being this more complex equation about how the weapons are interacting with the monster's hit zones and what those hit zones are for. So actually, it would be interesting if we could change the math calculations to include the hit zones somehow, because I don't think people are doing that yet, and it would be interesting if people were doing that. When it turns out that you don't actually need complex calculations for most of the trash monsters, but then there are some monsters where you really are curious about optimal damage output. Kulve Taroth would be a perfect example of this because you fight her so many times, right? This is why she makes it when a weapon's good against Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth, it makes it into my top 5 list because, let's be honest, I fight her more than any other monster. So it would be an interesting thing to see which weapon would be able to do the most damage if you could calculate the hit zone alongside the elemental and the raw damage. Also, I want better calculations for blast. I've seen people try to calculate blast, but I don't know how much I trust those calculations. One of the things you guys have to understand is that these calculations, sometimes they're just kind of made up by people who are going, well, in theory, you should be able to hit a monster X number of times before the blast builds high enough to go off. But it's a little more complicated than that, right? Because some monsters you're going to be able to build blast on them much faster than other monsters, and then you start reaching thresholds, right? So there's a threshold between getting a 3rd blast or getting a 4th blast, and we're talking about 120 extra damage on that 4th blast. So being able to recognize those different thresholds would be able to tell you something like, oh, I should take the Grunge Storm Insect Glaive as opposed to the what do they call that? The Emperor's Cane Ruin Insect Glaive. Because if you knew if you were going to get the 4th blast or not, it would kind of be a big deal. But then you don't really know all the time because the blasts are affected by the number of attacks you did on the monster. And if you used mostly slow attacks, then you didn't build blast as fast as if you had used a lot of light attacks. So I'm saying that the calculations start to get really complicated. And oftentimes, the best way to understand a weapon is to actually just go watch and see what the speedrunners are able to produce, but also to just kind of test and see the damage per hit on each of the monsters, particularly in the hit zones that they're going. For example, with Kulve Taroth in Stage 4, you're really only attacking her on the horns, so that's the only hit zone that matters on Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth, which is why we're going to be testing the Ice Glaive on her in Stage 4. We're going to be testing it hit per hit and comparing it to the Devil Joe Insect Glaive. Each monster has a starting threshold, and each explosion, the threshold gets a bit bigger, and at one point it reaches a cap threshold, precisely, right? So, but the thing is it gets harder and harder to understand how does that relate to, like, for example, if you've got a new monster who's weak to blast and they have a crazy amount of health, you would probably cap out, but you would keep going with those blasts. And then on the other hand, you might have a monster extremely weak to blast, and you might not even have to worry about that threshold because the monster might die before you reach it because of the damage that your particular weapon is doing. So I feel like Monster Hunter for a long time has based its reward system off of this idea that the weapons are too complicated to understand, so you're going to have to go in and test each of these weapons to kind of understand them. The problem is, today we have YouTubers like myself who can sit around and figure all that shit out for you, and we just do it all day long. So you don't have to play the game that way. You can just watch my 10-minute video on which weapon ends up doing the best damage, and then you know. And so I feel like Monster Hunter World, Capcom, Monster Hunter has to move toward a new reward system that isn't necessarily based on misinformation, the player not knowing what their best option is. They have to go for a different reward system in their game, in my opinion, in order to have a satisfying end game. Status damage is like elemental damage, where the hit zone value for the monsters is always 100. Each attack has 40% to proc. I just remember when I was learning about the optimal insect glaives, the guys were arguing about whether Emperor's Cane Ruin was better or the Grunge Storm was better. And one of the things they couldn't agree on was how much extra damage you were getting from the Dragon Element versus how much extra damage you were getting from the Blast Ailment. And you got to remember, Blast Ailment is just straight damage, right? So the Blast Ailment, it doesn't do anything other than blow up and cause damage. So it's almost like if you could have seen it another way, it would just be more raw, right? Because the blast damage is always going to be the same damage. Just depends on if the monster is weak to blast or not, which adds a bit of complication to your total damage output. And that bit of complication is what Capcom relies on for players to not understand what your optimal choices are. Thanks for joining, Sean Burnett. It's okay if you can't stay long. Yeah, Elisa, not Elisa, Asa? I'm not quite sure how to say your names, but I see what you're saying. So we need to optimize our ice glaive real fast. We're going to drop health boost because our build with the other weapon did not have health boost. Could go attack boost. Wait, do I not have... Oh, I don't think I have it. Alright, we're off to the workshop. Gameconomist, would you recommend the mouse and the keyboard or the controller? It's hard to say, actually. I've never gone good with the mouse and keyboard for Monster Hunter World, so it's hard to say. You're better off asking somebody who's done both. I just prefer controller. I've played controller like my whole life, so it's always going to be my preference. Wait, we're building a charm. This is the worst system ever. Let's build the ice attack charm as well. Oh, Jesus. Alright, so we have the maxed frost charm, but there's the other charm I want to build, and that's the peak performance charm. Show me peak performance. Here it is. Oh, I'm not going for attack boost. I'm going for peak performance, for those who did not know that. Alright, so let me look at this build real fast. We add health boost on the build. It says we have 55% affinity. The first thing I want to do is test the frost charm, actually. Okay, so the frost damage maxes out at 310. That's important to understand. We're going to go with peak performance instead, because we're at 300. Okay, and we don't need 55% affinity. 45 would actually be fine. We can give up frost damage. I wouldn't do that. I guess we're giving up mighty. And we're going to go with flawless here. And so it's important, when I test this, it's important that I don't take damage so that I can understand actual possible damage output. But see, I'm looking at this, and even though ice damage does much more damage than dragon, basically double damage compared to dragon, the raw is so different between these that oh no, the grunge storm also has an attack. Oh, I gotta fix that, hold on. So in order to compare these fairly, I also have to have an attack augmentation. We're going back to the workshop. I missed that, I didn't see that. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this augmentation. I actually like this song. This one sounds nice. Alright, so we gotta get this attack increase. We need that in order for them to be fair. So we have to retest the jump, the running attack, and then most importantly, we also have to test the light attack in place. What do we have now? Alright. Grunge Storm may still win. Oops, I didn't mean to replace Decay like that. My bad. We'll use Spark again. Spark I'm sure of. Spark's just going to do more damage. It's easy to tell from their actual stats. Alright. Oh right, we gotta have the meat platter. And we can't die, that means. Frost says, wait, you can use the map to fast travel around the headquarters? 1,200 hours into the game and still learning new stuff. Yeah, it saves a minute, doesn't it? Let's grab this guy. Oh, when I was talking about attack boost earlier, the attack boost charm, I said I think I have 2 attack boost charms. That's what I was saying. Oh no, it didn't actually fall. Oh, we got it. It's okay. I'm just on Hunter rank 70. Can I do solo for Kulve Taroth? No, it would be a big waste of your time to do solo. Nice. You know, we're just gonna go with 3. I guess I could have gone for 4. It looks like I could have gotten 4. Oh, she's already turned red. Nice. Giant horns chipped. We're basically done with the cannons. The cannons are really good at shooting her in the head. Oh, she's turned red. Why don't we just attack her like normal? Oh, I should have dropped these, huh? Does she have any parts not broken? Yeah, her arm. Ooh, I almost didn't make it onto that ledge. I want to turn this music down a little bit now. Oh shoot! I was doing the music and I missed her. Oh, my bad. She's red. I don't know why I'm using barrel bombs. All I gotta do is attack her, honestly. Your barrel bombs, you're supposed to use them when she's not red. Just doing habit, that's all. Oh, now she's not red. She lost her red glow. She's gonna roar in a minute. Danke für die Hilfe. I think he's saying thank you for the help. Danke für die Hilfe? Is it Danke for the Hilf or Danke for the Hilfe? Danke. By the way, you guys, I'm very close to breaking 56,000 subscribers. I'm 100 subscribers away. I'd love to hit that number tonight. In German it is. I'd love to hit 5,600 tonight. I usually get about 100 subs a day. Depends on what I release, honestly. If I release a good video, I'll get 100 subs. But I haven't released another video yet. Ooh, I better drink that. So I don't want to die. We're putting on the baby blanket. It's pronounced Hilfa. Let's get the horns. I did have German in school. I was saying I was just saying I think it's in German. You know, for people who did not know that was probably in German. Ich habe gerade eine Bombe gelegt. Yeah, I haven't done German in a long time. If you didn't know that, I'm not good at German. I took 2 years of German, but I did not actually go to Germany, and I did not continue to practice after I learned it. It was an enjoyable language. I liked it. I love the way the German language sounds. Actually, it makes me want to eat a sausage and a beer. A Wiener Schnitzel. Do a LARP monster video. It'll get you to 1 million. What does he mean, a LARP? Speak a bit German, please. Germaneconomist. Yeah, I don't speak good German. I don't want to. I'll butcher it if I try to speak German. Good try. Oh, my mantle's gone. Oh no, I'm alive. Oh, I'm getting nervous. I don't want to die because I don't want to lose the attack up extra large, or the attack up large buff. I don't know where she's going. Oh. I'm dead. Oh. Oh, her gold is mollifying, just Just as her gold mollifies, she breaks out of her. Alright, let's grab that optimized ice build. And we're going to change impact mantle to rocksteady, fireproof. I guess fireproof. Let's refresh our items as well. German beer is the only real beer. Whoa, some strong words. Alright, we need to test the running attack, but also the light attacks. Right, and we do have to eat this cool drink so we don't lose peak performance. Which we will if I don't drink it. Are they just waiting for me? Ah, whatever. We'll take the orange buff. Alright, we have all the buffs. That's a 88. That's as much as one of the strikes from... That's as much as one of the strikes from... Oh, what the F's happening there, man? Jesus Christ, that shouldn't happen. That's freaking retarded. God, man. Fucking Steam. I've not enjoyed Steam at all, by the way. Alright, let's see. That's 157. That's actually very similar to what we saw with the... And that's 107. So it's basically doing the same damage as the... Oops. It's basically doing the same damage as the Devil Joe Insect Glaive. There's no difference. Oop, let's get out of here. $161. Oops. F-bomb demonetized. Turn off controller overlay setting for Steam, you fool. Alright, thank you. Clean Economist or Cuss Economist, stay tuned. If you guys... So in real life, I actually curse a great deal. Actually, I mostly curse. I try to speak nicer when I'm in chat, though. Because I know you're all impressionable young women, and I don't want you to be marred by my bad language. So I would say the problem is peak performance is hard to maintain. $129 that time. Why only 129 there? 85 there. Oh, because I need all 3 buffs to get max damage, of course. Do the infinite combo, Gameconomist. The Cure Ice will probably beat out the Joe. Yeah, but the odds of actually using that successfully are impossibly low. You're not going to actually get to use that. I need the orange buff. Oh, come on. There we go. That's 130. That's 90. I wish I could tell everyone to stop attacking for a minute. Oh! I didn't see that second puddle. Shit. Well, now we can't test anymore. Well, it honestly looked like they were doing about the same damage. I don't know if you guys saw the same thing I did, but yeah, it looked like the same damage to me. I'll re-look over the stream. I saw exactly the same numbers popping up. Very, very similar numbers, actually. And so I don't know what that... Oh, she's dead. I don't know what that means for the... Should I recommend the Kiar Ice, or should I just not worry about it? If it's doing the same damage just for one fight, you wouldn't actually need two versions. But I will say this. You're able to build health boost easily. You're able to build health boost easily with this Insect Glaive. You're not able to easily build health boost with the Devil Joe Insect Glaive. Yeah, you know, I am going to talk about the Ice Insect Glaive because for the average player, you don't want to go down there with no health boost just to deal a little bit more damage with the Devil Joe. I would actually much prefer that you go in with the Kiar Ice. You'll still be doing good damage, you just won't have peak performance, you'll have health boost. Yeah, I think that Kiar Ice is actually a better option in that case then. Gameconomist, we're impressionable, stop. There we go. If you turn off the controller overlay for Steam, you have to restart the game for it to take effect. Okay. Devil Joe Glaive plus Affinity Booster. Well, I was already getting 100% Affinity. Oh, do you mean like if I were to drop Maximum Might on Devil Joe Glaive? Well, the problem with that is your Affinity Booster is going to end, so that's not really a good solution. You're also giving up, if you're taking Affinity Boosters, because you're giving up a different mantle, so it's not a, one of your variables is changed in the way that you measure the two weapons. So that's not actually a solution when you're comparing them. Sell all. Alright, let's go ahead and grab a greatsword. Wait, we're not grabbing a greatsword, we're grabbing the Forager build. Where's the Fashion Economist? I never wear the layered armor so that people can always tell what armor I'm wearing. What's today? Is Wednesday? Yes, I'm gonna do greatsword. He said greatsword or hammer, I believe. I wonder what I should do. Should I do greatsword or should I do hammer? I actually prefer hammer. Enter name here asks, is there Arch-Tempered Nergigante at this event? No. Arch-Tempered Nergigante remains unannounced. However, the PC is getting the Witcher for the first time, and I believe what that means is... Hi, kitty. What are you doing, kitty? PC is getting Witcher for the first time, and to me that means that PC and console are going to be completely caught up. Grab this stone. You know how many times I've fought Kulve Taroth at this point? Probably 110 times. No, please make a lance run. Well, somebody, I wish I had his name. YouTube doesn't tell me what his name was. Somebody made a donation, and he asked me to play with the greatsword and the hammer. There's got to be a way to look it up. Is there really no way to look up who made the donation? Because that's garbage. I'm gonna stop and try to find out. Hold on, give me a minute, guys. I'm on this. I'm looking for a way to look up who exactly made the donation. As far as I can tell, there's no way to see. Wow, that's garbage, man. Fucking YouTube. How would you design a live stream chat room where people can donate money to you, but it doesn't remind you who it was that donated the money? What if you want to thank them at the top or at the end of the chat? Sam Hosking says, fun for your PlayStation 4. Also, can you try some guard points with Chargeblade today? Sam, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it, first of all. I guess there is no way to look up the other person who made the donation, which is really disappointing. And yes, since you're asking me to do guard points with Chargeblade, then we'll have to try and do that. I haven't taken the time to stop and figure out how to guard point. So I tell you guys what, I'll have you guys in the chat kind of explain what buttons I'm meant to be pushing. So first of all, let me jump down there and start helping them with Kulve Taroth though, because I've been up here this whole time looking for a way to thank the other guy again. Why would YouTube design it so people can donate money to you and you just don't know who they are? It's just a bad design. I would want to know. Sam Hosking. I might have to start writing your guys' names down when you make the donation. You know what? After this stream, I'm going to sit down and figure this out because this is the dumbest thing ever. Band Monk S. Even if I got a PS4, even if he got a PS4, I doubt he would put in another 200 hours farming everything again. Well, that depends. Is there a way to port a character over onto the PlayStation 4? I actually had somebody offer to send me over a used PlayStation 4 that he had. He said he had a spare one, so he had like 2 of them, and I just didn't give him an address, and that was all. I just didn't give him an address. So I've thought about maybe like accepting if maybe I made like a PO box or something. I don't think I want to buy another PlayStation 4. Not so late in the... Think about it. They've already announced PlayStation 5. So if I were to buy a PlayStation, I would probably buy a PlayStation 5. So I don't want to go out and spend money on a PlayStation 4 at this point. Especially when I already own the game for the PC and the Xbox. That alone's like $120. I actually had to buy the copy for the PlayStation, you know? Jump up here. Oh, I forgot that this album had like a cover song in it. Sam Hosking. See, I'm already starting to forget because I'm playing this game at the same time and I'm talking to everyone. GP happens at 2 best states on Chargeblade. One is the switch into axe, the other... guard point happens at 2 states on the Chargeblade. One is the switch into axe, the other is the swing that ends up with the shield in front of you. There are 3 ways to guard point. Most notable is R2 triangle while switching to axe mode from sword mode. It gives you guard point. R2 triangle. I'm trying to remember what triangle is. Is triangle the top button? You have a diamond of buttons, right? 4 of them. Is triangle the top one on the PlayStation controller? I can look this up. PlayStation controller. Triangle. Come on, show me this. Yeah, triangle's the top button. So he said triangle R2. Okay, let me think about that. Go back to the live control room here. $8K? How much is the new PlayStation 5? Have they already announced a price? I can't imagine that they already announced a price. I don't think it would be a bad idea for me to own a PlayStation, and that's because if they were to announce Bloodborne, I would probably want to play Bloodborne on the PlayStation for sure. Oh, that's my air conditioner. Huh, I didn't expect it to kick on like that. I thought I turned it off. I guess it just hasn't gone off today. David Larson says, I've mostly mastered guard pointing. It's so overpowered if used correctly and combined with guard up plus guard. It's the button you shoot with and the button that circle on PlayStation 4 controllers. Gameconomist, do you have the Dante Charge Blade? Your character glows red when you're in a position that can guard point. Huh. I might have to watch a video on how to guard point. Guard point's like the last thing I'm trying to learn on the Charge Blade. I know a lot of the other things at this point. Actually there's two things. Guard point, and then when in axe mode, actually using the axe mode efficiently. If I don't understand the most efficient way to use axe mode. I remember seeing a speedrunner, and he stayed in axe mode during one of his speed runs, and he actually used the axe mode for just regular melee attacks. I was really surprised, because I thought that this SAED and the AED are the most efficient things to do. But no, he actually used the axe mode and then the monster died. Would you use 3 levels of artillery or 2 levels in Mind's Eye on a light bowgun? 3 levels of artillery. You turned on the air conditioning with the hot gameplay? Probably not. GP can be amazing for KOing monsters. Okay. Where's she coming out of? Guard point can even kill a Diablos. Eric's has a good guide on Charge Blade. Okay. Axe mode is good against monsters like Otogarin, and when they're down, SAED their ass. That's bad language. SAED. Gameconomist, guard point professional. How do you dodge roar by rolling? There's actually a method to it, believe it or not, Luop. So Luop, I should make an actual guide on this so more people know about it. To dodge a roar, you need to watch your screen very carefully. What happens is, when the monster roars and it's actually damaging, well, not damaging you, it's stunning you, you'll notice that your screen blurs very subtly and very momentarily. The trick to dodging the roar is to roll at the moment before your screen blurs. Okay, so if you memorize what position the monster is in when that blur occurs, you know when to hit the roll button, and that's it. So there actually is a way to consistently dodge roars. Although on Archtemper Zenejiva, his roar lasts so long that you're not able to dodge it. So the person who made the previous donation, I wish I remembered his name. I'm sure if you look earlier in the stream, you will remember who he is. Let's go ahead and do a hammer run. I'd actually love to do a hammer run, and we'll do that for him. He said hammer or greatsword. I happen to really enjoy the hammer. Yeah, I really enjoy the hammer. Did you know that blunt damage actually gets a better hit zone value against Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth than... Hold on, what am I building here? Yeah, blunt damage does more damage to Kulve Taroth than sever damage does. Here we go, that'll work. What do I normally use that for? Is it health boost, really? Because I'm supposed to build Part Breaker. Oh, I bet I use it for Part Breaker. Bet you I use it for Part Breaker. Elementalist. We got 1 level of weakness exploit. 2, 3. Crit boost is done. Part breaker needs to be finished. And then we have max might. 1, 2, 3. 55%. We could probably get away with 45% and have 1 vitality. Goodbye, guys. Had fun watching. Thanks for watching. Music is expression. I started that whole conversation at the beginning of the video because of your name. Let's go ahead and change equipment. Yeah, at the beginning of the stream, we were talking about whether modern music is actually that expressive. And I was saying that kind of it's not. A lot of modern music seems very commercialized. And more about the beat, you know, rather than about expression. Michael Jung asks, what set do you think I should use for the dual blades? Well, it depends on what dual blades you're using. If you're using a Kiar dual blades, just go Master's Touch with the Draken armor, or alternatively with the Teostra Gamma armor for the superior fire resistance. If you're using dual blades that don't have built-in crit element, then you need to be using the you definitely need to be using the Teostra Gamma armor set. For the chest plate on the Teostra Gamma armor set, you need to be bringing the Rathalos chest plate. That's going to give you weakness exploit. The arms are going to be the Gamma Teostra arms. That's going to give you your critical eye. And then for the waist, you need to be using the Azure Star-Lord waist. This is going to finish crit element for your build. David Larson says, modern music has a lot of trash, to be honest, or I'm just getting old. No, we were all kind of agreeing, David, that, well, I think everyone was, that a lot of the modern music today doesn't really seem to have... it's hard to say, like the same, perhaps the right word is expressiveness to it that a lot of older music used to have. And we were maybe talking about perhaps part of the reason for that is because life is too easy now. Nobody really goes out and takes real risks and has the same kind of hardships that... What is with that? Did you see that? I fired it and it didn't knock it down. Is this gonna hit her? No, of course not. Damn it, man. I don't know what happens. I was right here and I fired right into it. Oh, that's sad. But yeah, we were talking about how music today... I was saying that I suspect that the musical artists don't necessarily have the same hardships that some of the musical artists in the past actually had. Life was perhaps more risky back then. Nowadays, if you become a musician, you're probably a very sexy woman, and a company signs you on because you look really good, and you just kind of have things handed to you a bit. I don't know if that's 100% true, though. What do I actually know? I'm not, like, in the industry. But seriously, there's a bit of narcissism in music that I don't think existed in the past. Dubstep. Dubstep still exists. It kind of fell out of popularity, didn't it? It had like a little bubble of time where people thought dubstep was really cool, and then it just kind of faded into obscurity. Older music didn't have as much auto-tune, and they used real instruments. Precisely. Now somebody else can write your music for you. Oh, they broke her horn plating. I'm fucking everything up over here. Yeah, older music, they didn't have auto-tune, and somebody else didn't write your music. You wrote your own music, and the music, perhaps just because it was written by you, it had more meaning to it, you know what I mean? Pink Floyd is amazing. Actually, my wife's favorite band is Pink Floyd, if you didn't know that. And my favorite artist has pretty consistently been Trent Reznor. He's from the band Nine Inch Nails. It's kind of like an industrial rock band, but I like a lot of his other work, not just like his rock work. He did a lot of instrumental work, and I'm a big fan of instrumental work. I really like classical music and instrumentals and soundtracks. So he did a lot of instrumental work, and that's kind of how I started liking his stuff, and at some point I started liking his rock music too. But other artists I like, definitely Radiohead. Who doesn't like Radiohead? Radiohead's really good. After that, mostly like classical artists after that. I don't have a lot of modern music that I like. Boom Shakalaka asks, is there room in the session? And I would answer probably not. Not 100% sure on that, but this session stays pretty full. I don't know what people's strategies are to get into this session, but I'm going to guess that you kind of have to sit there trying over and over again to get in. I think this session stays real full. Gameconomist likes instrumentals is true. So probably my favorite genre of music is actual video game music, like Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. But yeah, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Radiohead I'm fans of both of those. Actually, I like music that's actually pretty sad. When the music's kind of like melodramatic, I like music like that. Green Day was really good. I think that Green Day was a decent band, but they changed, didn't they? They became popular, and I felt like their music, you actually saw their music change. Coldplay did the same thing. Coldplay had really good mainstream music, and then they like changed when they got too popular. They started sounding kind of hip-hop-ish at some point. I don't know what they do anymore because honestly I stopped listening. And Green Day did the same thing. They just kind of like, I don't know what happened. They just didn't sound like they did when they started. Oh, that's too bad I missed it. Can you please deal with AFKers so we can form the fourth party? Thank you, Zadias, for bringing this to my attention. There's not really an easy way to get rid of AFKers. You could list their names for them not joining. If they haven't played for like 2 rounds, that's a very good example that they're definitely an AFKer, but I'm worried to kick somebody out who had a legitimate reason not to join a match. But I don't know. I'll let you guys talk about it a bit. I don't want AFKers in our actual match because there's a lot of people that would like to be in the session. And if you're AFK, damn, look at all this damage coming from the hammer. That is so much damage. And you can move so fast. But yeah, we don't want people being AFK in this session because there's a lot of people that want in. So if you're AFK, you really should go and head out. But this is the thing. Let's say they need to just go number 2 or something, and then they're going to be right back. Should that person be booted? It's a little bit harder to say. Like maybe we should just let them go to the bathroom and come back or something. But and then on the other hand, what if you're going to go eat dinner with your family? Well, then you really do need to go. Oh, did you see that dodge? That was a good dodge. I'm proud of it. Yeah, so we don't want people to be AFK in the lobby, but I don't want to just start like booting everyone either. I love the music from pretty much all the Pokemon games. Ruby and Sapphire held the best sound. Oh yeah, the Pokemon soundtracks were amazing. I mean, they're like famously known for their music. People underestimate just how important music is to video games. When a video game has music that's hard to forget, that video game ends up being hard to forget. That's the way it works. So your game either has famous music and becomes like an art piece, or your game has forgettable music and it doesn't. So this is one of the things that really is separating Mario and separating Zelda out from the rest of the video games. You never forget about Mario because the music's so phenomenal. And so video games, I feel like it's maybe one of the most important things for video games to have that kind of music. I think we can get an aerial off here. I don't want to mount her by accident. Man, she's all about digging. Let's go ahead and take this off. Just looked up PlayStation 5. Seems like they said it would be backwards compatible, so you could play Monster Hunter World on it. Do they say when it comes out? I haven't read any news on when PlayStation 5 is coming out. I know once we get the new consoles, we're going to get the new Elder Scrolls pretty soon afterwards, so I'm excited. I want that new Elder Scrolls pretty bad. I'm down here because I don't want to accidentally mount her, but I want to keep... Oh! I want to keep aerial attacks. Yeah, many amazing... It's not just about the memories. They innovated. Those games heavily innovated, and I feel like those kind of games are also at risk of not innovating enough with the new games that we get today. That's kind of how new brands kind of sneak their way in by trying something new that Mario and Zelda weren't really willing to do. But I feel like Nintendo's kind of been improving on that in the latest generation of video games. I really do. you know, like Breath of the Wild and Mario Universe, whatever it was called, Galaxy. No, not Galaxy. What was it called? Odyssey. There we go. Mario Odyssey. I feel like they were experimenting with both of those. It wasn't in the end too crazy, but it was. Oh, I don't know if it was a good. Yeah, I didn't drop the boulder because I didn't think she'd be under it. So we do see some experimentation from those titles, and I think that's really important. Oh. David Larson, Fustora. My wife played Skyrim and she loved it. I think Skyrim is just an amazing game. I remember the first time I played Skyrim, oh my god, the music was so moving. I just told you guys, one of my favorite genres of music is instrumentals that would include classical music, but especially includes like video game music. And man, did I fall in love with the Skyrim. I think everyone does. I fell in love with the Skyrim soundtrack, but especially I did because that's the kind of music I listen to more than other types of music. So for me, it was like, oh my god, what is this treasure? You know, oh, she's gonna get me bad. Oh, nice, I dodged it. You know, it was like running into a treasure chest of good music is what it was like for me. It's like when your favorite artist puts out more music, you're like, oh snap, this is what I'm doing now. That hurts. Oh. Gameconomist, have you ever played Elder Scrolls Online? Yes, I actually played that extensively with my wife. We had like a whole clan of like 1,000 people or something like that going for a while. Oh, damn it, I'm gonna get killed, man. I gotta be more careful here. If I'm gonna be doing aerials, I really ought to be doing the temporal mantle, but I'm waiting for her to be put to sleep. Yeah, there she goes. That's why I haven't put on my temporal mantle yet, because she's not asleep yet, and when she goes to sleep, it's going to be a waste to have your temporal mantle. Fustora. What are some key events coming up? Hold on. I know Greatest Jagras is good for decoration farming, but what else is there that's noteworthy? All of the Arch-Tempered monsters, particularly Arch-Tempered Teostra. If you haven't defeated Arch-Tempered Teostra, you need to do that to pick up the Teostra Gamma armor. There's the Azure Starlord armor set, which I'm learning is actually kind of valuable if you're using like a non-QR build for Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth. Also some dual blades use it. There's the Wyvern Ignition Impact Greatsword is another one. That's a good one to talk about. Oh, there we go. Tail's broken. Alright, and now we can put on our... That guy's probably going to get the mount first, but I'll put on my temporal mantle anyways. Yeah, he got the mount. She can kind of come over here. Ich bin auf dem Monster. Oh, who's putting barrel bombs down next to the monster's head? You don't do that. Oh, Levi. Bad, 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 Levi. You just stopped me from getting my, oh, it doesn't matter because she died anyways. But Levi, you don't want to put barrels down by her head. Actually, I'll tell him in-game, actually. We had to teach Mr. Clean that. The problem is, yeah, you're doing damage when you put those barrel bombs down, but you're also losing the damage of your teammates. So it would be smarter for you to just deal damage with your weapon, whatever your optimal damage is, and let your teammates deal their damage. It actually does more damage than your one barrel bomb. So your one barrel bomb's doing like 540, and then somebody's going to touch it and blow it up. Well, my Big Bang is going to do more damage than your barrel bomb very quickly, and I'm just one person. So if you counted yourself, if you were attacking with, like, let's say slice ammo, your slice ammo's doing damage, my Big Bang's doing damage, and already we're out damaging your barrel bomb, and then you add in the other two players and it's not even close. So whenever you have 4 people around her head, you don't want to be using your barrel bombs. You actually lose damage. Now, on the other hand, if you put her to sleep, that's a different story, because everyone agrees to do barrel bombs. So if everyone was agreeing to do barrel bombs, then yes, it would work well. Nice German pronouncing. Thank you. Amiriel? Gameconomist showcasing his German roots. As much as Kulve is annoying to fight over and over, I think she's still really fun to fight. She is really fun to fight. I actually agree with that. I really wish, you know what would be cool? You've got all these PC modders, and maybe if you guys know a PC modder, you can request this. They ought to make a fight where you start off in stage 4, fighting Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth without her mantle. And the fight is actually, she just has a huge health pool. You can attack anywhere on her body, although her horns obviously will have the best hit zones. And it's just like a real fight. And maybe if it's possible to give it another attack, give Kulve another attack, maybe do that as well. Something really cool like that. Oh, let's go ahead and collect our rewards. So it is 2 hours into the stream, which is when I normally end the stream. Oops. Let's take a look at these rewards. Here they are. We got the Kjar Dagger's Water. Cool. That's good. And the Kjar Crest Stream. That's the Ice Lance. Actually, I believe that's... I think that's the best lance for Kulve Taroth in Stage 4 now. And then... I'm pretty sure it is. And then we have these two. And we don't need those. Why not stream on Twitch? Because I'm crazy. Alright guys, once again, if you haven't subscribed to me, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by tonight. I'm very close to breaking 56,000. I'm on my way to 100,000 subscribers. That's my goal for the year, is to get 100,000 subscribers. So I appreciate you guys' help with that. And I appreciate you guys watching the stream. I really do, actually. It's fun talking to you guys. It's fun hearing your issues. And it's fun talking about not just the game, but just like other things that we sometimes talk about. Alright, I will see you guys later. I'm going to go work on my Insect Glaive top 5 meta build video.